A lot of people, they'll say, oh, I hope this works for me. And I'll say, you're in a lot of trouble because hope doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Belief will get you somewhere. You need to audaciously believe in the fact that you deserve success, that you are worthy of success, and that you can figure this out.
Well, hello and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and I'm so honored to have you here today. And I know you're going to love this episode where I bring in a couple of special friends who have been a guest on this podcast before, the amazing Darren and Mike. The reason I decided to pull Darren and Mike back in to have a chat with me for you in this episode is because I know there are a lot of people right now who are growing businesses who see people who are in leadership roles or who have made the business of their dreams, and they think, how can I do that? How do I get there from where I am? Now, Darren and Mike, when they came onto this podcast initially, were talking about their role as leaders. And fast forward a few years, because that episode was a number of years ago now, Darren and Mike have a team of over 100,000 people. They are earning millions of dollars a year. They are in an incredible position in the company that they're in, but they grew their business over the last 10 years from nothing. And I wanted to take them back to that story of the beginning and the things that they put in place right at the start that they still use and practice today to continue growing and getting momentum in the business that they have. They are down to earth, they are real, they are relatable, and they're really honest, and they share everything. So I know that if you right now are trying to grow a business and you're wondering, how do I get from where I am to where I want to go? This is going to be the episode for you. And if you right now are struggling with a little bit of self-belief and you're wondering if I've got what it takes, listen to this episode, listen to the wisdom from these amazing human beings, and listen to the heart that they share, because there are a couple of things in here that are critically important for anyone that wants to grow successfully in the direct selling industry that they need to implement. These guys are a wealth of information, and I know that you're going to love this. So grab pen and paper, sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. And make sure, no matter what, that you take something from this and implement it. Because knowledge is not power, my friends. It's only potential power. And it's not until you implement that knowledge that you get to see the growth and the benefit from that knowledge. So enjoy this episode. Enjoy these beautiful human beings. I know you're going to love it. Sit back, relax. And thank you so much again for tuning in. Well, hey there, and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator Podcast, and welcome to my guests today. I am so super excited to welcome you guys back in. Mike and Darren, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us, Sam. We're excited to be back.
We were just trying to work out how long it's been since you're on the podcast, and I realized it has been far too long. I think maybe, what did we work out? Maybe 4 or 5 years since we had you in here. Yeah. Talking about what you guys are doing in the industry. But you have done so much since then, so I'm super excited to chat through that today. But just by quick introduction before I get into some fun stuff, you guys are leaders in the network marketing industry. You've got oodles of experience in this space. You've also created an amazing platform. You run something called the Dream Team, and you've got over 100,000 people in your downline that you are leading right now. That's amazing stuff that you guys have done.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. Even just hearing you say that all back, it's like, how did we get here?
Yeah. We're actually coming up on our 10-year mark of being in this industry in April.
Not bad for two guys.
10 years.
Marketing experience.
Yeah.
Well, happy 10-year anniversary in the industry. And you guys have done some amazing stuff. And what I actually wanted to talk about today is sort of where that all started, because I know what you guys are doing right now is obviously where so many people would love to be. And the question is, how do we get there? What do we do? What does it take? And you guys are, I would say you're special friends of ours. We have spoken at your convention over in San Diego last year. You are down to earth, normal, everyday guys that are doing amazing things. And, I see what you're doing and I see other people, and I think it's not the big gap that everyone sees, right, between where they are and where they want to go.
Yeah, absolutely it isn't. I think that the beauty of this industry is it's really not rocket science. It just takes a little bit of initiative, a lot of staying power, and anybody can do it. I really do believe that, even 10 years in.
Even like introverts like me.
That's just it. I mean, neither of us, Sam, neither of us are the most extroverted people in the world, right? So if we can pull this off, honestly, it's something that's doable for everybody. I really do think so.
Yeah. Well, we're going to dive into that a little bit today, because I really, I want people to see some of the top leaders in this industry and feel a little bit more connected to, hey, you know what, they're just like me, and I can do this, because I know you guys, I know you well, and I truly believe that. I get to see so many different people in this industry growing their businesses, and I want to kind of break this down and just remind people that we've all got what it takes. And like you guys said, it's not rocket science, is it? It's actually relatively simple. So let's simplify it. Before we do, like I said, I know you guys pretty well, but I want you to share something about each other that most people wouldn't know, because I know a lot of your team might be listening to this podcast episode and be, they're like holding onto the sides of their seats right now going, ooh, we want to hear some dirt. So what's something that most people wouldn't know about you? And I want you to turn on each other for a little second and share what the other person's superpower is, and maybe a kryptonite or a bad habit there as well. So break it down. Be real. We want to hear this. We'll go with Mike first.
Okay. Well, it will come as no surprise to the people who know him, but Darren's super strength definitely is he has this ability to see people and to just make them feel like they're the most important person in the world. And this is so valuable in our business because Darren, he connects with people on a level that not everybody can. And when you are seen by Darren, you feel like the sun is shining down on you. It's a remarkable thing. And it just brings the best out of people. They feel safe. They feel like that they can do anything. It's remarkable. The flip side of that, I think, is that he gets used to that, and probably also, I know, just overanalyzes things to death. And he will be his worst enemy, where he will overthink something so many times that he's lost track of how many times he's considered that path. And it doesn't mean, and he spirals through these vicious circles and just like analyzing. So that can get tricky.
Awesome. Yeah. Darren, your turn.
I think for Mike, his superpower is being able to present in front of people, whether it's, on camera like this or in front of like a room full of 10,000 people. Yeah. He can comfortably, just be himself and present and give it. Whereas I'm like the opposite. The kryptonite for Mike is people asking questions that when they should know the answer.
Oh, yeah.
So some of our team are watching. Make sure you Google first or use ChatGPT before asking a question that you should know the answer to when it's easily found.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna throw one out there. I think Mike's got another superpower, and that is pronouncing tricky names. I have heard you go through list after list after list of having to announce people who have achieved amazing things. And sometimes I see those lists and I just think, I don't know how you do that so well. So I'm going to throw that one out there. I think you're doing amazing.
That's part of it, right? He's not afraid to mispronounce, right? Like he's not afraid to make a mistake publicly.
In a weird way, it's kind of become almost like a coming of age for people. When Mike mispronounces your name, you've really made it.
Yeah, you did say that. I did hear you say that. You said you haven't made it until I've butchered your name. So I thought that was really, really well done. So congratulations.
Thank you.
But look, honestly, it is really great watching you guys, both as a team, but also with your team as well. And, you know, Greg and I are both honored to be able to have been a part of that journey for a little while now. But I want to just come back to the very start for a second and ask, when someone's got a team of just 3 to 10 people, like they're right at that beginning, because you guys have been there, right? And they're feeling like nothing's really happening. And, you know, I think there's always this question in people's mind of, do I need to worry about becoming a leader until I am one, meaning until I've got a big team? And the thing is that, you know, when you're really starting out, from your perspective, if you think back to when that was you guys, what are some of the things that you would say are crucial to focus on in those early stages? And what did you guys focus on in those early stages?
I think Mike has this saying, people don't care what you know. They just need to know that you care. And I think we kind of did that before we even knew that quote. We were just there for people when they needed us. Right at the beginning, if someone asked us a question, we answer. If they needed me to hop on a Zoom and show them how to do something, just did it. I did it, right? I did it right from the very beginning. And I think that's really important when, like, that personal touch with people, especially in this industry.
Yeah.
And especially working online, because a lot of people don't, you know, this is new to them. They don't have the technical skills when they first start that they may need,
or a lot of other skills.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, you know, the thing that makes network marketing so incredible is also the thing that makes it its own worst enemy. Network marketing is accessible to anybody. It is literally the thing that any single person can get into and could become a huge overnight success story. But because of that, you get so many people coming into it, and they have no business background. They have no speaking background. They have no leadership background, coaching background, mentoring background. They just worry about all the things they don't have. And they get so caught up in that. Whereas all they really need to do is just remember, it's a people business. So just be there for your people, right? Like, you don't have to be a pro in all these things, because that experience comes, right? I mean, Darren and I had no idea how to run a multi-million-dollar organization. It just comes with experience, right? You don't need to have that knowledge in the beginning. And I think that's so important for people to understand. It's okay if you don't know, because you don't need it anyway.
No, and you grow into it. You grow with it.
And I would say, you know, that being there for your people, that connecting with your people, that is probably the single most important skill you can develop. And so it's important you focus on that in the beginning.
Yeah. So just like turning back the clock a little bit to the beginning, I mean, you guys have got, like, we're best guess somewhere around 100,000 people in your team, in your downline, but you've got hundreds of thousands of people on your Facebook, in your Facebook connections and groups and pages, etc. Like, you've got so many people that you're working with now that anyone who's beginning might look at that and go, well, it's okay, they've got a huge team, they know what they're doing. But wind back 10 years, what did it look like when you first started out? I mean, you started with just you and then one more person. And what did that first little stage look like for you? Did it go crazy straight away? Did it take a little while? What were your first steps?
It didn't go crazy straight away, but when we started this in this business, we did it online. I call it online network marketing. So I don't like to say network marketing, because we don't do it the traditional way where we're meeting people in person
and have coffees.
No, we've done it all online. So right away, we ran ads on social media. And so I guess maybe it did go a bit faster than if you were doing it in a more traditional way, because you can market to a bigger audience. So many, you're paying Facebook or whatnot to show your ads to people, right?
Yeah.
And so it felt slower, but I think it was relatively fast, And we created a Facebook group in 2016, And it did start, like at that time, we had 30 people when we created that group, and it's grown now to, it's 276,000 when I look today. So, and that basically is kind of the hub for where we built our business.
Here's what I love about network marketing. It's all just duplication. So I will figure out how to do something, and then I'll teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
Now we're doing it together. So we're going to get double the effort. We're going to hopefully get double the reward, right?
Yep.
Ish. And then you just keep that going. And in my mind, like, neither of us had any experience in this industry. And that's probably why we did everything the way we did it, because we didn't know any better. So
we didn't have any like bad baggage or bad habits or anything like that.
And so we always looked at this as building a business, like a normal business, quote unquote. And so every business is all about, how do you build it to scale? You got to start with foundation first. It's like building a house. If you don't have a solid foundation, your house will fall down. So focus on your foundation first. And then how do you scale after that? Because we were focused on online advertising and marketing, we taught our people how to do that. Well, now we've built probably one of the biggest marketing agencies on social media.
Yeah.
Except it's not an actual media agency, right? But if you look at the number of people and the sheer amount of advertising dollars that they're spending, it's massive.
Yeah.
But it started with one guy, Darren. I never did it, thank goodness. We know our skills. And then there was 2, and then 3, 30, 60, 90, and it just kept going, right?
So let's come back to like the first few people. So you started this out. We're going to come to the Facebook ads. I really want to talk about that in a minute. But you started out, you shared it, you duplicated, you got a couple of people on board. How did you nurture those people in those early stages to continue building and growing? Because you've got incredible systems in place now, but back then there were no systems, right? So, or did you start building systems before you kicked off?
No, we stayed in touch with them all day long. We had
we used Skype,
and if you remember, I don't even know if it still exists.
It doesn't.
And wow, there's a blast from the past.
We used that, and so we would chat, and so we kept people engaged because we're all in different time zones. And when we first started, we actually marketed to our local area because logic said, okay, somebody in BC, Canada is probably going to click on my ad because they're going to say, hey, these guys are from, BC. So I trust them, like they're in my area. So we started kind of locally, and then branched out from there. And so, we kind of just built that digital trust with people and started to get a following. And then with the people we were working with, we taught them everything we knew. Everything I knew, I taught to them.
Yep.
And, that's how it duplicated. So right from the beginning, and some of those initial people, they're still with us today. They never left. They still, which is really rare, I think, now that I've been in this industry a while and seen the churn rate with people hopping from different company to different company. It's really rare to still have your first people in your business.
Originals. Yeah.
We have always been the group that outgrew something. So we outgrew Skype, and then we went to another one, and then we outgrew that. We went to another one, right? So that originally we were using ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is still around, but I mean, it was a nightmare because we would have like 10 ClickFunnel accounts because we had
can only have
maxed
so
out each
people
ClickFunnel
on each
account.
one.
We've gone through every single webinar platform on the planet. I could tell you everything about all of them.
Yeah, we've had this conversation, right?
You just keep outgrowing systems.
Yeah.
And I think, everybody should look at it that way because you don't need enterprise level technology right now, right?
Yeah.
If there's 100 of you or there's 50 of you, start with what you can afford, start with what works.
Yeah, or 5 of you even. Remember, we started very small and then it just grew from there.
And I think, the reason that it worked for us, looking back now, I think it's because we took care of a lot of the work for people. So they didn't have to reinvent the wheel. Like they didn't have to go create training for their group because we did training for all the groups. They didn't have to go out and create all the websites and the CRMs and deal with all the subscriptions and the technology because we took care of that for them. So what did that do? That let them focus on the important thing, which was bringing in people.
Yeah. And then we taught them how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to come back to something there though for a second because you guys started at the very beginning, right? And so did that mean that you needed to know everything before you could you could help people? I already know the answer. That's a loaded question. Because you're saying like we just did it for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to know the lot yet, right?
That's just it.
Sometimes I was learning as I taught.
That's it.
Right.
You know, and
sometimes that's the
That's
best
really
way to learn.
important. I want people to hear that. Say that again.
Well, you know this as much as anybody, Sam. Social media changes literally hourly, right? So you're always learning.
I'm learning it, and then I'm telling you guys about it about half an hour later. It's
right? Exactly.
But what you teach, you get to keep, right? It's part of the reason I started teaching was because I was like, I'm going to hold on to more of this. I'm going to understand more of it. I'm going to be better at it if I'm sharing it. But yeah, I love that.
I think, what it boils down to. We talk a lot about this to our people because a lot of people, they'll say, oh, I hope this works for me. And I'll say, you're in a lot of trouble because hope doesn't get you anywhere. No. Belief will get you somewhere. You need to audaciously believe in the fact that you deserve success, that you are worthy of success, and that you can figure this out.
Yep.
And it's those people who don't have that belief, those are the ones who struggle.
Yeah.
And why am I entitled to that belief any more than you, right? They have to go through that thought process and really get to that point. Unfortunately, I've yet to figure out how to really help somebody do that because it's an inward journey that they have to come to terms with themselves.
Yeah. And I want to just point something else out. We're going to talk about Facebook ads in this conversation today because I think this is a really big point. And some people heard you say that and went, whoa, hang on. Sam tells us that that can be dangerous territory. And it can be. So we're going to have that conversation because you guys have built your business on this. And I think it's really important for people to hear this story. But when it comes to Facebook ads, one of the things, and Facebook or social media in general, one of the dangers we face is that you can build a very disconnected business. But what you guys put your focus in was what we've just talked about, which is getting to know people, showing that they matter, connecting with them and staying connected with them. And something I noticed about you guys that I just want to point out to our listeners right now that is so unique. We have been on trainings for dozens, probably over 100 different companies now. I can't even count. And when we do these trainings, one of the questions we'll always ask is, before we go into it, how many people usually show up live to your training? And the answer for a big company, we're talking for corporate head office, will often be in the hundreds, not the thousands. And so we're okay. And we ask that question because we need to know what support and resources we need to be able to interact with those audiences when we're live. And the funny thing about it was that when we first connected with you guys and we asked that question, you said, a few thousand. And I was like, on your weekly training? And you were like, a few thousand. You're like, it's not many. It's just a small group, but, around 3,000. And I remember Greg and I looking at each other going, are they having us on? Do they really get that many people show up live for their trainings? Because companies don't get that. And the one thing that stood out to us was you guys have developed a personal relationship with so many people because you do genuinely care, but you prioritize the humans. You don't prioritize the systems. You don't prioritize the processes. You don't prioritize the product. You don't prioritize the business. You know it's about the people. And you've just said you started that from the very beginning. And I want to really point this out to people for a second because you still, we jumped onto a training with you guys last week and there were nearly 3,000 people still there live. They come in every week and they come in because they feel connected to you guys and they're connected to that culture and that mission that you've built. And that's not accidental, but you start the way you intend to finish, right? And you started that right at the first person.
We did, yeah. And we just thought that was the decent thing to do, to be honest. It's not like we had this great insight into anything. We just we dealt with people how we would want to be dealt with ourselves, really.
Yes.
We took it seriously. Like when someone joins you, and that's the thing, they're joining you. Yeah. Right? That's what in this business, they're not just buying a product from me, because the way we do the network marketing business is we lead with the opportunity. So people are joining because they want to do the business. They're not just buying a one-off product and then see you later. We're not going to see them again. So because of that, they're actually wanting to work with us. So we prioritized that relationship and we took it very seriously and we took care of those people and we still take care of them and we still do everything we do for all of them.
We actually, most companies in network marketing, you have your sponsor. I never really liked that word. So we have basically, if you're somebody's sponsor, you're their mentor in our community. And that means that you are there to grab them by the hand and guide them through the process. You're not there to do their work for them, but you're there if they have questions, right? And, I think you just nailed it. Like, they're buying into the belief that you can help them, right? They're not buying the product. Well, okay, they might be buying the product because they think it'll help them. Sure, yeah. But in our business, especially because we focus on that business opportunity, people are doing it because they're looking for real change in their life and their family's life, right?
Yeah.
And it's become a bit of a movement now for us because we've created these ripples that are across the entire globe now, where we've got people now that literally have gone from a house where they didn't even have running water to now building the house of their dreams mortgage free.
Yeah.
That, for me, will be the thing that I always am so proud of. When you can create that kind of dramatic change for people, that's a powerful tool. And we talk about this all the time. Network marketing, the industry, it gets so much abuse. So many people come at it for so many reasons. But find me any industry that can create that kind of change for people in that amount of time. Right? I challenge anybody to do it.
Nothing else. There's nothing else that you can work your way up like that without education.
Exactly.
I don't have an education. I didn't, I did a post, it was either today or yesterday, talking about I didn't graduate high school, and I'm making more than my doctor and lawyer friends. Right. Yeah. And that's because of this industry. And there's nothing else that I know of short of winning the lottery that is like that. You can go get a job at Walmart and then work your way up to being the CEO. Right. It just doesn't happen. But in network marketing, you can.
And I just want to point out what you just said earlier as well. When I asked that very first question, I asked what your super skill was. Isn't it really interesting that you used a gifting that was given to you from birth that's part of who you are, Darren, which is this ability to be able to see people and connect with people, to become more successful, like you said, than a doctor or a lawyer who has been through a huge education and spent all of this money on it. And I think we sometimes discount our super skills. We don't value them and we don't understand what we are actually capable of doing if we really, truly harness them like what you've done. And I think it's a perfect demonstration of someone who stepped into that super skill.
But we live in a world where we're constantly being told that we have to get an education. We have to learn this. We have to do that. Otherwise, we won't be successful. Otherwise, we can't be successful.
You have to follow these exact steps. Right? Like the system.
And I actually do believe that that's part of the reason why so many people come after the network marketing industry, because it does break that whole model. It turns the whole thing on its head, right?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, it's funny you say that, because one of the things I was most afraid of when I went into a marketing career was the fact that I didn't go to university and get an education in marketing. And I made the decision not to, because the things I specifically wanted to learn, they didn't teach, because I wanted to learn what was new and what was coming and what wasn't in place yet. And the education system is about what's in the past and what you need to know about how that works. And I was scared. I was like, if I tell people that I'm a marketer and I don't have a marketing degree on that piece of paper, people will think less of me. But I can tell you right now, I am so glad that I am 100% self-taught, like many of you guys are. And I know you guys are as well, because by being self-taught, you can self-select what you need to learn to have the impact you're put here to have. And, Greg and I are now more educated than most people globally in social media, because we choose what we learn rather than we learn what we need to learn to get a piece of paper. But I think a lot of people forget that your passion, your super skills, the things that you already have when you entered this earth are the very things that can get you the success that you dream of. And you don't actually need to be somebody else to get those. I think you guys are such a great example of that.
Thank you. I think the interesting thing about that too, because we're the same way with is that your marketing evolves as the internet evolves and it changes, and then you kind of grow because you're not taught a certain structured way. You grow and evolve with it. And our business has done that with the changes in the internet, and so is our marketing. Look back on our business page on Facebook and see how the marketing's evolved through the
Yeah.
last decade, right?
Yeah.
From the type
Well,
of stuff we used to post to the type of stuff we post now. And then, of course,
absolutely. Yeah.
AI and all the different tools now available.
Yeah, you're not doing what you've been told to do. You're doing what you know works.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a funny story on that really quickly before we get into Facebook ads. A few years ago, I actually got contacted by the university in Australia asking me to train their marketing department in social media. How hilarious is that? So here I was going, I feel like I can't ever let anyone find out I don't have that piece of paper. And then I had the very people from the place that give the piece of paper asking me to teach them. I was like, wow.
I love it.
So let's talk about Facebook ads though, because you mentioned at the start, it was now why, first of all, why did you dive straight into Facebook ads? What was your reason for using Facebook ads to grow your business right at the very beginning?
Facebook at the time was the main social media.
It was the only one in a lot. Really, it was the only real one.
Yeah. So, and
That in MySpace.
yeah. No, well, MySpace, I think, was already out.
Oh, that was already on the out. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh gosh, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it might have been the only one. There was YouTube, but it was different. Like it wasn't being used socially really yet. It was just kind of ads, and then and Facebook was just also because everybody's on it or was on it at that time for sure. It was the easiest to learn to advertise on because people already knew the basics of posting and doing all that stuff. So it's easy to teach to people and on a platform that they're already on.
Yeah. And so you scaled your business quickly using Facebook ads. You do an incredible job of teaching this process to people in your team as well, which is really valuable. But I want to talk about the pros and cons of running Facebook ads for a moment because things have changed since then, right? We're dealing with very different times on social media. At that time when you guys came into play, the algorithm was either not quite there yet or at the very early stages. If this was around 10 years ago, it would have been like a baby rhythm.
Yeah.
And so what's changed for you guys in the way, like, are ads right for everyone? First of all, let's ask that question. Do you believe that ads are right for everyone in this industry, and should everybody be trying ads?
I think industry-wide, maybe not, because we work with a high-ticket product. So the commissions can cover the cost of advertising. If you're working with a lower ticket product, it may not work out that way because advertising, it has gotten more expensive over the years, like as far as lead costs and conversion costs. So from the time we started, for sure.
Yeah.
Although I do have people on our team that still get like dollar leads. So it's just like, which is crazy. But so I wouldn't say it's right for everybody. And especially, I mean, it just depends on if you're really good at posting and getting traffic organically, then you may never need to run ads. And we have people in our business that do that hit really high ranks without ever running an ad. Even though that's not specifically what we teach, but they've figured it out or they've come from a background where they were already had a following or who knows, right? They're all different people, but
at the root of it, I'll tell you what hasn't changed. 10 years ago to today, it still boils down to human connection. So if you're going to advertise, you have to connect with your people. Give them a reason to follow you. Like we've always been telling our people, if you're going to put something online, it should do one of three things or all three if it can: educate, entertain, or inspire. And you got to give people a reason to follow your page, follow your profile. What are you doing for them? People get all caught up in all about themselves, and they become a bit of a narcissist. The world is full of narcissists these days because we're all online. Right?
Everybody's a content creator.
Everybody's a content creator. Yeah, everybody's an influencer. Right? But the thing is, it's never about you. It's always about them. And that's what people forget. So if you're going to do anything online, make sure that you are covering off how you can help people and what you provide them before you do anything.
Yeah. And so let's just talk about organic versus adverts for a moment, because for me, one of the observations I've made is that there are a lot of people out there right now that are running ads that maybe are jumping a bit of a step ahead, because as I've said to you guys before, my belief is that you can pay Facebook or Instagram to deliver your content to someone, but you can't pay for people to click on that content. So until you've figured out who your audience is and how to get their attention, running an ad is not going to get you a result, and you need to come back a couple of steps and get really clear on those two things. What are your thoughts around that?
I think I would even add a third thing. I'd add figure out who you are online, who you want to be as well. And then start, because that's what we teach people, is to figure out who you are. We teach them their like kind of like the hero's journey, their story.
Yeah.
Because until you know that, how are you going to help somebody else?
Yeah.
That's right. So we teach them that first, and then we were talking about this on the last mastermind. And I was talking about this hero's journey concept. And I said, look, guys, like I grew up on a small town or on a farm outside of a small town in the middle of nowhere in the middle of Canada. What does that mean for you? Well, that means that a small prairie kid who grew up on a farm can grow up to run a multi-million-dollar online empire, right? Now, what happened in between those 2 points? A whole lot of life happened in between those 2 points. And that's what gives me common ground now to talk to people on our page, like, so that they know I'm a real person, so that they know that I'm authentic, right? The word authenticity gets banged around so much these days, and people forget how important it is, I think. But, we're at a point now where it's really hard to tell what's real and what's not real online. Yeah. And it's getting harder. So it's so important that we're more authentic than ever, and trip over your words, mess up your makeup, post your videos when they're not perfect, right?
Yeah.
Be as human as you can, because then they know you're actually real.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. I love that. And I think it's a really good reminder. Stop posting the highlight reel. I was talking to someone else about this earlier today. Don't share just the highlights. People, and it doesn't mean that you don't rip the Band-Aid off. Like, I'm not saying be the car crash and tell them the ins and outs of your life and the ups and downs and the highs and the lows, but you need to be human. And what you just shared is such a good example of that. Is this is where I came from, but here's the bit in the middle. And a lot of people forget to share the piece in the middle of how did I get to where I am, because they need to also see what's that journey going to look like for them too. They're wondering, if I do this, if I jump into this business, what's that journey going to look like for me? And because I'm not going to go from where I am to where Darren and Mike are. There's something that happens in the middle, and I want to know what that's going to look like.
Yeah. Well, if you don't talk about that, people will look at you and say, oh, I could never do what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or is it real?
Or is it real? Yeah.
Yeah. So look, let's come back a little bit now to, I guess, strategy and growing a business. What's one simple daily behavior that you guys implemented at the beginning that you still implement now that you believe compounds over time and is really important in growing a business?
Every day we're there for our people. It's that simple. Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. Every day, actually, one of the first things I do is usually over coffee, and Mike always says, don't do it yet. Enjoy your coffee. But I go through and I look and I answer everybody's questions that came in overnight or whatever.
I love that. Yeah.
So anybody can create a chat with your people, right? I mean, I don't care what platform you do it on. Just pick a platform and put your people in there so that they have a place to ask questions. And more than anything, also just to know they're not alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And, that I would say that activity, that checking in, that answering the questions every day, those tiny little things that I think people don't value enough are the very reason why, number one, you get people showing up for lives every single week. And number two, your business continues to grow because everyone feels seen, they feel heard, they don't feel like a number. And it doesn't, look at you guys, you've got over 100,000 people in your team and people still don't feel like a number. And that is an incredible, job that you guys have done in doing that. But you're also teaching other people to do that for their people, which creates a culture.
Yeah.
And I love that you did that right from the very beginning, but let's just talk a bit about momentum now. Have you, across the last 10 years, always had momentum going like this? Or have you had times where things maybe get a little slower?
we have slow periods through at certain points of the year, but every year we have had growth, massive growth, like 20 to 40% growth. I mean, we do a significant amount of volume for the company that we work with. Like a lot, I don't even want to say it because nobody will even believe it, but we do almost 50% of the company's revenue. And for us, the biggest spike was COVID. COVID hit and the world suddenly couldn't go to work. Everybody realized just how precarious their position really was, and they needed a backup plan.
Yeah.
Our community just exploded, right? And that was another one of those days where you wake up and you're like, okay, all the systems are under strain. Things are a little bit on fire. Let's just see if we can patch up these holes and just see if we can find a bigger, better system because we're experiencing big growth right now, right?
Yeah.
And now it's happening again with AI. People are realizing that they need a plan.
That's
B.
it. That's it.
Right? They need to do something else, a side hustle or whatever, right? So
Yeah. So, with that, I mean, we saw a big shift in the industry post-COVID, and I know you guys have had this explosive growth in your business that happened during that time. Off the back of COVID, when everyone did start to go back to work, we did see a little bit of a lull in a lot of businesses in the direct selling industry, and it led to a lot of people, I guess, emotionally quitting, maybe before they physically quit, but just kind of feeling really deflated and down. What did you guys do during that time? And even now when you've got leaders in the business or people in the business that are growing that are feeling a bit flat, like I'm just not getting growth right now. What's your advice to those people when they're having those, I guess, slower times in the industry?
Well, I think what we always try to instill in our people right from day one is that this is a business. This isn't a hobby, right? So, and I guess that's because of our background. We didn't come into this thinking of it as a side hustle. Like
it was plan A.
This was it. This had to work. And so, when you look at a business and you say, okay, these things have to happen on a daily basis. You got to track your numbers. This is the money coming in. This is the money going out. Like you got to give it the attention it deserves, right? I always use the analogy, like starting a business is like having a child. You've got to grow it and nurture it, take care of it. Hopefully, God willing, it'll get to the point where it can do the same for you as you get older, right? But it won't get that way unless you do grow it and nurture it. And so even when the world kind of got back to normal, we'll say, and people were able to go back to work, they still had it ingrained in them that they had a business, right? They didn't have a hobby. And they also, even though their job was there, they remembered what it was like to have the rug pulled out from under their feet, right? So what if there's another, God forbid, another global pandemic next week? Like, do you have a plan B?
I think too, another thing we've done is we've always made it fun for people so that it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's not like, this doesn't feel like a lot of work.
It doesn't feel like work.
It's not. This isn't what we do. Isn't rocket science.
Yeah, it's not life or death. We're not brain surgeons.
Like actually, what we do is the hard part because we're running a whole bunch of systems and everything else, and so we work a lot. But for the people on our team, we've taken a lot of the work out of it for them, so they just have to do the fun part, which is the marketing part, right? And the posting and the.
We do a ton of stuff that's always built around recognition, like just recognizing those little wins that everybody gets, whether it's sending them a card or whether it's announcing their name on a mastermind or whether it's doing a post in a group about them. Always celebrate your people, right? And if you've got 2 people, it's easier to celebrate. If you got 200,000, you have no excuse. You still got to celebrate.
Sometimes I just text them a picture of us cheersing.
Yeah.
To say, hey,
right?
I love that. That's so simple, but really powerful as well. It just shows them that you're there and you notice. It's that whole being seen thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's one big team effort. That's how you have to look at this industry. They reference your team all the time in network marketing, but I think people kind of glaze over the meaning of that, right? Like it's a team sport.
Yeah.
You got to encourage people on. You got to give them skills to build on. You got to, recognize their challenges and help them through it.
Yeah. I love that. It's a team sport. That's going to stick. I like that one. Let's talk a little bit about systems, though. You guys are pros at building systems, and I would say it's one of the main reasons that you're able to obviously run such a big team so successfully and continue to grow. But that starts right at the beginning as well. The culture starts at the beginning, the relationship building starts at the beginning, but also systems. What would you say is one system that a small team of 2, 3, 4, 5 people could implement today that you would say is pretty important?
I would say the number one thing that everybody has to have is a CRM.
Yeah.
Tracking your leads.
You got to know.
Say the same thing. Yeah.
Like, I'm amazed when you've never been in business before. People don't think of this, but you have to remember who your people are. You got to remember what their touch points were.
Yep.
What those were centered around, right? And schedule them and automate as much as you can. I mean, there's so many out there now these days. There's absolutely no excuse not to have some kind of CRM.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about a spreadsheet.
We did though.
Yeah. Do you guys have any favorites that you recommend?
Yeah. I mean, I still, to this day, I still love Pipedrive, it's called. It's been around forever.
Yep.
Reasonably cost. Like
it is. They've raised their prices over and over the years,
but it's still not.
It's great. I sync it up with my calendar, with my email, everything pulls through there. And what I've always loved about it was I can bring junior members of our team into my account and they can help me with my calls with people. So they can do my follow-ups. They can send the paperwork in. And it's a great way to just kind of bring somebody up through the ranks to help them learn the ropes, right?
Yep.
And to get a little bit of confidence with their abilities.
Yep.
It makes it easy.
Yeah, I love that.
And a tip for someone building a team, what we used to do with those team members is when they closed the sale, they got to keep that sale.
Yeah.
Even though it was our lead, right? So
Yeah, I love that. And the empowering of people to get in and take ownership is so awesome. I love that. So Pipedrive, we'll put that in the show notes so people can check that one out. So not everyone when they're starting out in this industry has got 5 days a week or even 7 days a week to work on their business. They've just got small snippets of time. So if someone right now is thinking of getting into this industry, or they've started in the industry and they've only got, say, 5 hours a week to work on this business, what would you say are the top things they should do, or how should they spend their time to get maximum momentum?
I think you have to have customers, right? You have to have leads to have a business. So I would still say one of your main focus has to be on, if you're doing it online, then it's got to be your social media presence, right? Yeah. Whether it's organic or advertising or mix of both, you have to be working on that, and at least posting daily something, right? To build that following.
Figure out who you are and who your business is and how it can help people. Start with that. And then go after those people that you're specifically going to help. Tell them how you're going to help them. Find a vehicle that will let you bring in as many people as you can from that demographic, and then come up with a system to convert those people, whether it's emails or whether it's calls, Zooms, or webinars, whatever. But find a way to engage with those people to convert them to actually become customers. And then never let go of your customers. The number one way people go wrong in this industry is they forget that they've got the best customer in the entire network on their team. And they're still a customer, right? Yes. People forget that. They're still your customer. So look after those people, because, if there's one thing I've learned in business, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, a current customer will always create more value for you than a new customer, because they understand your value proposition. They understand what you can provide. They don't question your price. They just want more of it. So they just keep buying, right? So keep looking at your people. You've got to have a vehicle to bring people in the first place. Otherwise, you got nothing.
Yeah, so good. So you've just touched on my next question. I was going to say to you, what is one of the biggest mistakes that you see the average leaders making in this industry?
Yeah, they don't look after their people. Yeah, we have, actually, we're going to talk about this tomorrow night on our weekly mastermind. We've got people, we call them hunters. They're really good hunters. They're really good at bringing the people in, but they're not good farmers. right? Not good at nurturing them and taking care of them and keeping them there, so they can bring them in droves.
Yeah.
And go,
We've come up with one more group in this. So there's the hunters, there's the farmers, and then there's also the hunters and gatherers. They're just taking whatever they can find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
And like we complemented each other that way because we brought, we were really good at, we both kind of, I guess we're both kind of hunter. I was hunter as far as doing the ads and stuff, but then we both nurtured though.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
I call that the churn and burn mentality too, though. It's that, and this industry, unfortunately, there's a lot of training that leads more towards the churn and burn or the hunting, but not so much hunting and gathering, not so much the farming. And I love that analogy too, by the way. There's another one. We'll use that one too. It's a team sport and hunting and farming.
There's two really unfortunate things in our industry that I wish we could solve as a collective. And one is this recruit and run where people are just focused on the sale. It gives all of us a bad name. And then the other one is there's no loyalty in the downlines. So they'll, instead of taking ownership for your lack of success, you'll go sign up under a completely new business instead of actually putting in an hour a day in the one you're in to try to make it work.
Or sometimes
there's always that shiny object.
Sometimes they'll sign up even in the same business, but under a different upline, thinking that, maybe that person will
that will work.
Yeah. That somehow it'll be different because their sponsor or mentor has
businesses. Changed. They take time to grow. That is the simple reality. And we all just need to have a little bit of patience and grace.
Yeah. And effort though. They take time and effort. Yes. People forget that part.
On that though, there's a lot that you guys do that, you've just mentioned a couple of things before, Darren, where, you sit down, have that morning coffee and you're going in, you're answering questions every morning. What are some of the things in the early days that nobody saw that you did that, when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about all of the things that go on behind the scenes that no one ever sees. What were some of those activities for you guys? What did that look like?
Building funnels. Like Mike used to build the funnels for everybody when we first started, and building like the back end, all the training videos, like training videos and
entrance calls. Darren would do all of the social media training. Like he would be up all night with people. So nobody ever really pieced it together, but they're like, oh, so somebody's talking to Darren at 4 a.m. and somebody's talking to Darren at 4 p.m. When does Darren actually sleep? Nobody ever really thought about those questions. Right? But in the beginning, we didn't sleep. We lived on cheese and crackers, and we sacrificed a ton of time. And to be completely fair, we still sacrifice a ton of time because it's a business, right? Yeah. And there's just, our child that we raised has become a really greedy adult that hasn't left the house yet. And so we keep nurturing that business.
Yeah. But, to be fair, like I know you guys have built this incredible thing and you are so passionate and driven and you do such a great job, but it's not necessarily what everyone else is building, right? So if someone's listening to this right now and they're going, oh my gosh, does that mean in order to be successful, I need to be up all through the night? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No. And it depends what your goals are. Like I will be fully, like I actually wanted the no cap on income. Like I was like, I want to be a millionaire. Why not? Right. Yeah. But not everybody does. And I get that. People just want the extra $500 a month or extra. Well, then you don't have to work like we work, obviously.
For a family these days, just to know they've got money for groceries, quite often that's it. Right. They just need to know that they've got food on the table. Boom. Job done. Right. Yeah. When we do our insurance calls with people coming into the community, we always try to start off first by saying, okay, what are your expectations? What are your goals? Because that's what we're going to work backwards from. Because if you only want to make, $100 or $1,000, you're going to obviously put in less effort and time than you would if you want to make 10,000, 100,000, right? So it's, but
if you know you can be a millionaire, why not?
Well, and that's
right.
It's hard to understand that, right? But
for me, it's just like, well,
everybody has different priorities.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to ask you my 4 favorite questions now, just as we wrap up, because, like we could keep talking about this. I've got so many more questions here I didn't get a chance to ask, but I know that we're getting towards the end of our time together today. So I really want to ask these ones. Are you guys ready for them? 4 quick fires. First one is, what is your favorite book of the moment?
Well, okay. I actually have one right here. If you've never read these books, this will blow your mind. Between Life and Death, Dolores Cannon. This woman built a career that spanned like 4 decades in such a bizarre way. I picked up this book and I was like, what? And now I've read like 4 of her books. She's got dozens of them. So
Okay.
that's the first
Between
one.
Life and Death. I'm writing that one down. I like
Dolores Cannon.
Okay. Have you got any to add, Darren?
I don't read a lot.
I don't know if you've heard of this one.
I'm going to do a shameless plug because I don't do a lot of reading, but someone did send me a book. And basically, the care method is exactly what we do, right? Connect the tracks, retain.
I love it.
Yeah. And Sam,
It's a good book.
You give credit where credit's due. When this book you brought out and you gave us the edition right at the time when we were talking to you about putting you on stage at our convention. And that was when we were like, yeah, she's our people, right? Because you get it or you don't get it. And if you guys haven't read Sam's book, read Sam's book. Because if you're really wondering how to be successful in this industry, it's all in here. This is it. I wouldn't have changed anything. This is it.
I love it.
Well,
thank you. I will pay you later.
We do get paid in Tim Tams. Don't forget.
Oh yes, that is right. I did. Just for anyone who's wondering what that's about, when we run a challenge, we always send a bunch of Australian chocolate and Tim Tams to whoever is running whoever we're doing the challenge with, to send out as prizes. And I don't know if any of your community actually received their Tim Tams, because I kept getting photographs of Darren eating Tim Tams on your deck.
They definitely didn't get the caramel one because those are my favorite.
They are my favorite too. And the double choc ones. I don't know if I sent you any of those.
Those are good.
Yeah. Next time we come over and see you guys, we'll bring some more over. So next question was your favorite quote. We love a good quote. What's your favorite quote?
Okay. For me, our whole business model is built on this quote, and it is, the fastest way to get what you want in life is to help others get what they want.
Yeah. Awesome. Love that one.
I have 2. And I didn't even realize I had 2 until the other day. I was thinking of an old friend, but he always used to say this. And so I'll share this one. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift. And that's why they call it the present.
Oh, I've known that one for a long time, but that's a really good reminder. I do love that one. Very, very good.
Especially in our business, because people get so caught up in the end goal.
Yep.
I always tell them, just enjoy the journey, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's no fun.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Oscar Trimboli, who was also on this podcast a little while ago, he's a deep listening expert, once said to me that when you're running, one of the most important things that you should do during your run is turn around every now and again and look at how far you've come. Then, as you turn back around, just enjoy your surroundings in that moment. Because what most people do when they're running is just focus on where their end goal is, 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers or 17 kilometers or 20 kilometers or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And they're so focused on that they forget to enjoy not only where they are, but celebrate how far they've come.
I love that.
So, yeah. What was the second quote? You said there were 2.
Oh, life is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah. There you go. Case in point, we're on the same wavelength there. So if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
I'd fly.
Yeah, I was just going to say I would fly too.
Yeah. We were watching. It's really windy here today.
We were watching an eagle outside.
And he's just soaring, just riding the currents.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. That's what it is.
So you'd fly because you would like the feeling of flying, not because you want to be able to get places quickly. Because I get 2 different answers to this one. Some people like, I would fly so I could just get somewhere.
No, we saw when we were watching the eagle, I said, you know what? He's just enjoying being up there. You could see he was not hunting. He was not looking,
he
for
was
the
just
next
cruising.
fish. He was just floating, riding the wind currents.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do. Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Okay. And our last question, but the most important question of the whole podcast is, if you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, what would that be?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I would have said.
Yeah. Invest in Zoom. Yeah.
Maybe
Someone said to me yesterday that they would have got that job with Yahoo back when there were only 10 staff and they were offered a job and they thought, oh, this is a nothing company, and they turned it down.
I would say, I think I would go back and I would say to myself, you're stronger than you think.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think I would say you don't need to change anything about yourself.
Ooh, good one. Yep. I love it. So good. Well, guys, I just want to thank you so much. It is always, I always love our conversations, and I have really enjoyed this today. I know that there is so much in this episode that people are hopefully going to walk away with, and with a ton of notes and ideas. And if nothing else, just a bunch of inspiration around, which was the intention here of, I can do this. Like, I was questioning myself, but I can do this. If you were to leave people with one last little, piece of advice or inspiration as they leave this episode today, do you have anything else you'd say to them?
Consistency is key. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta stick with the race. Otherwise you're not going to win.
Yep.
If you want to lose, the sure way to do it is to quit.
That's true. Yeah.
It's that simple, right? It really is that simple.
And I'll second that. I think that consistency has been one of the main keys to our success, because we've always just done the same things since we started.
That's true. Yeah.
Showing up over and over again.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much. Keep serving your community, doing amazing things. You guys are having a huge impact on many, many lives. And Greg and I are both very honored to be able to be a part of that. So thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you both.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, pleasure. And of course, thanks to our beautiful listeners for tuning in today. Make sure you share this episode with someone else that might need to hear this message, or that you know can benefit from something that was talked about today. And of course, make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. But thanks again for being with us, and we'll see you again on the podcast next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator Podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.